Hi, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to learn a little bit more about the Sensato Cybersecurity Practice Maturity Model. This is going to be a rather short video, but it should help orient you to the model, which we also call Cpmm. My name, by the way, is John Gomez, and I'm the CEO and founder of Sensato. And with all that behind us, let's go ahead and get into it. So what is Cpmm? Well, Cpmm is basically designed to help organizations of all sizes really understand their day-to-day cybersecurity practices. The idea here is to really give you a kind of insight into the things that you are doing or should consider doing. We'll talk more a little about how Cpmm is organized, what we mean by the word domains, and some other things, but ultimately, regardless of the size of your organization, regardless of what other frameworks or assessment tools you may be using, we've designed Cpmm to be extremely practical, and some would even say tactical. So when we talk about Cpmm, it's important to realize that it is very tactically focused. Whereas other cybersecurity frameworks and models focus on very high-level cybersecurity practices, such as how you do threat and vulnerability management or situational awareness or things of that nature, with Cpmm, we're really trying to get down into the weeds and really get a snapshot, or what we would call your maturity level, for those things that you're doing day to day, and in some cases minute to minute and hour to hour in defending your organization from cyber attacks. So why Cpmm? There are obviously other frameworks out there that do an amazingly good job of helping you understand where you may have gaps in your security strategy and practices. But those assessments and those framework models can be somewhat cumbersome and difficult to embrace or even deploy, especially for small to medium-sized organizations, or even very large organizations that have complex structures. So when we designed Cpmm, we wanted to do something that was extremely easy and rapid to use, even if you were a non-cybersecurity professional. So the important part here with Cpmm is that ultimately it helps you gain an understanding of where you are at a tactical level, and to do that in a very, very quick and efficient manner. So where does Cpmm fit in as it relates to some of these other frameworks? So one of the things we've done in building and designing Cpmm is crosswalk it to NIST CSF and what's known as C2M2, which is the maturity model from the Department of Energy and has become increasingly popular over the past several years. From those different models, NIST CSF and C2M2, you're then able to crosswalk to NIST 853, HIPAA, PCI, and a variety of other frameworks. So Cpmm is actually a supportive maturity model for these other frameworks. It doesn't mean you shouldn't use the other frameworks. It just means you can use this as a tool to support your initiatives in those other areas. In fact, Cpmm has been designed to be an evidentiary artifact. What does that mean? Well, it means if you're going through, let's say, a NIST 853 assessment or a HIPAA assessment or a PCI assessment, or whatever that assessment may be, you can complete Cpmm and then use that to present your evidence of practice to the auditors and assessors who are evaluating you on a broader level. This should help reduce organizational cost, help streamline interactions with these third-party auditors and assessors, and really make the process a much, much more agile process overall. Within Cpmm, as there are with most maturity models, we have what we call domains. A better word for domains may be categories, but it appears that everybody likes the word domains, so we're going with domains. Cpmm has 6 domains. And in most cases, the domains will apply to pretty much any organization, but there may be instances where it may not, one of the domains may not apply to you. And if that's the case, you can just ignore that domain. It's not going to impact you in any way, shape, or form. So the Cpmm practice domains that we incorporate, the 6 domains, basically are application development. Now this typically is going to be if you're building applications for either use inside or outside your organization. Maybe you're building commercial applications, or you're just building applications inside your organization. And this could be things like analytic applications, it could be data analysis, things of that nature, or real true custom applications using different types of programming languages. Application security relates to those things about how you're securing applications you rely on in your organization. This could be cloud-based applications or applications you deploy inside your organization. So, for example, it could be your financial applications, your HR applications, maybe your office productivity applications, and things of that. Again, this applies to both self-hosted and cloud-based applications. The cybersecurity program domain really focuses on how you're managing cybersecurity day to day. The endpoint protection is all about how you're securing and protecting your endpoints, your mobile devices, tablets, desktops, laptops, all of that kind of end user infrastructure. We also take a look at network infrastructure specifically. How are you safeguarding and protecting things like your switches, your network perimeters, your network peer-to-peer and point-to-point communication, and what you're doing in that area. And then ultimately, we also look at your server infrastructure, how you're specifically protecting your servers. What you can see here is that unlike some other maturity models or frameworks, this is a very tactical view of what you're doing. And we're really trying to understand how you're practically applying those broader framework guidance and strategies to the actual day-to-day operation of your security program at a very low level. So within Cpmm, there are going to be a variety of questions for each domain. And to make this easy and simple, we've actually given you some very standard answers. And the answers that you can have really are basically one of 6. Something may not apply to you. It may not be implemented, meaning you know you should be doing it, but it's not being done. Ad hoc means you know you should be doing it, you're kind of sort of doing it, but maybe it's not fully documented, or there's no policy or procedure associated with that practice, but you're kind of sort of doing it. Largely implemented would mean that you do have some policy and procedures, you have the right tools, you have the resources you need, but there's room for improvement. Now be careful here, there's always going to be room for improvement, but the practicality of the matter is at some point you may need to make a decision that this is as good as it's going to get. And if it really is as good as it's going to get, then that should be fully implemented, meaning you have everything in place that you need to do this on a day-to-day basis, and you need to put your attention in maybe some other areas that could be improved. Researching not sure simply means that you're not sure. You need to do some research here to get the right answer. And it's really just a way for you to kind of go back later on and filter those answers so that you can pick up where you need to kind of update your answers to the questions in Cpmm. So there's a few things to know. For each answer in Cpmm, you can provide some notes. There's some spaces for a plan of action. There's a way for you to estimate cost. If, for example, you need to potentially put some dollars behind a corrective measure to get something in a better state. And we're going to go through these things in a few moments when we actually show you the Cpmm workbook. So we're not going to spend too much time here on this, which actually brings us to the Cpmm demo. So bear with me as I switch over to that, and we'll go through the Cpmm demo. So as you can see, the Cpmm system model is built in Microsoft Excel. And we did this because we feel this is the easiest way to publish and distribute this model without requiring special tools. Along the bottom, you'll see that there are a variety of different tabs. Each one of these corresponds to a different one of the domains that we talked about. When you first enter Cpmm, you're going to get kind of a little bit of user instructions, user documentation, if you will. It'll give you some background. It'll tell you how scoring works and some best practices. This does kind of help in terms of orienting you. We would recommend you take a few moments to maybe read through or glance this. There's a Cpmm dashboard that we've built for you. So as you're answering the questions and you put information into the Cpmm model, you can come to the dashboard and kind of get a snapshot of where you stand across the different domains and where you need to either make investments or maybe improve the overall maturity of your organization. There's also up here at the top a kind of overall glance of how you roll up, how things roll up for you across all of the domains. With that, let's take a look at a domain. So we're going to just take a look at application security. All of the domains are really kind of set up the same way, but in the interest of time, we'll take a look at application security. You'll see that across the top, there's a mini little kind of dashboard, and as you change your answers for the practice level, those statistics will update. And as they update, the overall dashboard does as well. But what you can see here as I orient you to this is you have a column that crosswalks this question to the C2M2 domain. You also see that it crosswalks to the NIST CSF category. And then we talk about what is the cybersecurity practice or best practice that you should be embracing. And what we're trying to do is determine whether or not you're doing this. So for example, does the organization support minimum password lengths? This is considered a very basic security practice. And your goal should be that you do perform all basic security practices, at least at a largely implemented level of maturity. You'll see here there are intermediate and advanced practices. These are things that once you've addressed all your basics, you should then go focus on getting your intermediates and advanced. There may be some decisions you make in terms of the ability to afford doing these things, but that's really an organizational by organizational decision. The other thing here is that it is completely normal to have some things you're doing that are advanced, maybe some intermediate, and not all basics. So you can have this kind of distribution curve, if you will. What you'll see here next to the maturity level is an actual question. Do applications require minimum password lengths? Now, the important thing here to understand is when you're answering these questions, depending on your organization, you may have 3 or 4 applications. You may have 200 or 300 or 400 applications across your organization. You really want to think about the majority. If we were to ask this question of you in person, we would be asking, are a majority of your applications or all of your applications supporting minimum password lengths? And if the answer to that is no, then you need to think about, well, at what level are we doing it? What kind of ad hoc some applications are or aren't, or possibly it's largely implemented. Most of our applications do, or no, we're good to go. We have every application in our environment is supporting minimum password lengths. So depending on your answer, you can put some comments or notes here. So if I said largely implemented, I maybe want to make a note that our financial system applications don't support minimum password lengths. You can also provide evidence. Now, this could be evidence to point to policies, procedures. You can declare where to find the evidence for your answer. And this becomes extremely important when you're using Cpmm as an evidentiary tool, meaning that you want to give this to an auditor or assessor to help reduce the workload and also reduce your cost that you're going to pay a third party to come in and do a more in-depth investigation. If you have the ability to improve, maybe you're doing something that's not implemented or ad hoc or largely implemented, you can write out a little plan of action here. This isn't meant to be a full-blown project management tool, but you can at least have some thoughts down that here's what you want to do to address this. And then if there is a cost associated with addressing this area, you can maybe give an estimate of how much it would cost for you to go support or deal with this. And at the bottom of every domain's questions, you'll see that it aggregates the total cost, and that will then roll up to the actual dashboard that is within Cpmm. So with that, I just want to kind of at least give you a chance to understand how this all works and let you play with it. So hopefully this has given you a little bit of an orientation to Cpmm and how it works. So what happens next? Well, first of all, obviously get a copy of the Cpmm Excel workbook if you don't already have it. You should read through the overview in the workbook that we provide on the first page. Check out the domains. You can do them in any order. You can obviously answer as many questions as you can and then come back and answer others as you get the information you need to completely answer a question. If you have questions, please reach out to us here at Sensato. We're happy to help. You can get to us at info@sensato.co. And if you wish a copy of the workbook, you can reach out to us at info@sensato.co. A big thing we sometimes get a question on is how long does this all take? Typically, most organizations can complete the entire Cpmm process in about 2 to 2.5 hours. So it's a very quick process and really, again, meant to be very tactically focused to give you an idea of how you're doing and what practices you need to either go work on or pat yourself on the back because you're doing the right things. So with that, truly hope that all of this is helpful and that it supports your cybersecurity initiatives and efforts. As always, we'd love to hear from you, get your feedback, your questions, and suggestions. Thank you so much.